Welcome to the Sleepy Geographer channel, a quiet corner where the world unfolds slowly, fact by fact, wave by wave. Tonight, the story waiting for you is all about the most relaxing facts about coastlines, the serene edges where the land gently meets the sea, slowly surrendering to the timeless rhythm of the water. Before we begin, I'd love to know, where are you listening from this evening? Perhaps you're falling asleep to the sound of the ocean yourself. Or maybe you're in a city far from the shore, dreaming of distant beaches. If you find comfort in these journeys, I'd be so grateful if you could gently tap the like button and subscribe. To those who are already subscribed, thank you kindly. You're the calm, steady tide at the base of this channel. And a small reassurance, I do hope this video doesn't end up being so soothing that it carries you away to sleep too quickly. But if it does, at least you'll slip into tomorrow with the sound of waves and the image of a wide horizon nestled in your mind, like a smooth stone kept in your pocket. So let us begin our walk along the water's edge. What is it about a coastline that calls to something so deep within us? It is a universal place of peace, a sanctuary recognized across cultures and centuries. It is where we go to think, to grieve, to celebrate, to forget, and to remember. There is a reason so many of our holidays are spent by the sea. It is not merely for the sun or the swim, but for the profound sense of perspective it offers. Standing on the shore, you are standing at the very brink of the known world. Before you lies the great blue unknown, the realm of the deep and the distant. Behind you, the familiar world of roads and roofs and responsibilities. But here, on this thin, shifting line, you are free from both. You are neither adventurer nor homebody. You are simply a witness to the meeting of two immense forces, a meeting that has been going on for longer than life itself. The coastline is the Earth's most ancient conversation. It is the patient, endless dialogue between the solid and the fluid, the steadfast and the restless. The land speaks in the language of cliffs and sand, of pebbles and headlands. The ocean answers with waves and tides, with a rhythm that is both constant and ever-changing. And we, for a brief moment, get to listen in. This conversation is never rushed. It operates on a time scale that dwarfs our own. The cliff that crumbles into the sea today began its formation millions of years ago. The wave that just broke at your feet gathered its energy from a storm that churned far out at sea days ago. Everything here moves with a slow, deliberate pace. There is no urgency, only process. There is no panic, only rhythm. This is the first, and perhaps the greatest, relaxing fact about coastlines. They are a lesson in patience. They remind us that not everything needs to be solved today, that some forces work over millennia, and that our own worries, when held against the slow wear of water on stone, can seem a little lighter, a little less permanent. The very nature of a coastline is to change, but to change so gradually that it appears eternal. The sand you stand on one day will be rearranged by the morning tide, yet the beach will remain. The view may shift in its details, but the vast, calming expanse of the sea will be there just as it was for your ancestors, and just as it will be for those who come long after us. There is a deep comfort in that continuity. In a world that often feels fractured and fast, the coastline is a promise that the waves will always return to smooth the sand, that the tide will always recede and always come back in, that the horizon will always be there, a clean, simple line separating all that we know from all that we dream. So, as we start this journey together, take a deep, slow breath. Imagine that salt-tinged air filling your lungs. Feel the imaginary sun on your skin, or the cool, damp mist of sea spray. Let the weight of the day drain from your shoulders down into the sand to be carried away by the next gentle wave. We will walk this shore together, one step at a time, one relaxing fact at a time. We will explore the science of waves and the slumber of sand, the pull of the moon, and the glow of life in the deep. This journey is both geological and deeply personal. It is about tectonics and tides, yes, but it is also about what the sea means to the human spirit. A symbol of letting go of vast possibility and of a peace that is as deep as the abyssal plain. So, let us begin this walk along the water's edge. Not in a rush, but in a steady rhythm, as though we have all the time in the world. And in this moment, on this welcome shore, we do. The coastline is a conversation, then the waves are its voice. Not a shout or even a whisper, but a low, resonant hum that has been the planet's constant background music for billions of years. It is a sound so deeply woven into our consciousness that to hear it is to feel, instinctively, that all is somehow right with the world. Tonight, we settle into the first of our relaxing facts: the eternal, hypnotic rhythm of the waves. To understand the solace of a wave, it helps to know its journey. A wave is not a traveling body of water, but a traveling shape. It is energy, moving through the water like a shudder through a rope. Imagine a field of wheat on a windy day. You see ripples and waves moving across the surface, but the individual stalks of wheat only sway in place, rising and falling. They do not travel with the wave. They simply pass the energy along. The ocean behaves in much the same way. Far out at sea, where the water is deep and dark, the wind skims across the surface, its friction creating tiny ripples. These ripples catch more wind, growing into larger undulations. With enough distance, known to sailors as the fetch, these undulations organize themselves into a steady procession of swells. These swells are the ocean's long-distance messengers. They can carry the energy of a distant storm for thousands of miles across entire ocean basins, long after the storm itself has dissipated. This is a profoundly calming thought. The gentle wave that laps at your feet on a still, sunny afternoon may have been born from a gale that raged a week ago, halfway across the world. Its anger has been spent on the long journey, its chaotic energy smoothed and ordered by its own travel into a steady, rolling rhythm. The violence of the storm has been translated into a force of peace. It is a lesson in transmutation, in how the world naturally smooths its own rough edges. As these traveling swells approach the shore, they begin to feel the ocean floor. It is here, in the shallows, that the wave undergoes its final, graceful transformation. The drag of the seabed slows the bottom of the wave, while the top, feeling no such restraint, continues its forward rush. This is what causes the wave to steepen, to rise up, to curl, and finally to break. The energy that has traveled so far and for so long is released in a soft crash or a quiet wash of foam. This moment of release is the crescendo of the wave's long story, but it is never a jarring one. It is a sound that masks all others. The psychologist's term for this is acoustic camouflage. The complex, unpredictable frequencies of modern life, the distant traffic, the hum of electronics, the fragments of conversation are all drowned out by the simple, powerful, and predictable roar of the surf. It is nature's most effective white noise machine, gifting the overstimulated mind with a blanket of sound under which it can finally rest. But the rhythm of the waves offers more than just the masking of noise. It provides a pattern, a predictability that the human brain finds deeply reassuring. In our daily lives, we are bombarded with unpredictability, unexpected news, shifting schedules, digital notifications that shatter our focus. The wave offers an alternative. It arrives, it breaks, it recedes. It arrives, it breaks, it recedes. There is a clear beginning, a middle, and an end, followed immediately by a new beginning. This rhythm is a form of metronome for the soul. It is slower than our heartbeats, encouraging our own pulse to find a more restful, measured pace. To listen to waves is to entrain your own internal rhythms to a larger, more stable, and far more ancient clock. It is the rhythm of the planet itself, the steady inhalation and exhalation of the sea. This is why so many meditation and sleep aids use the sound of ocean waves. They are not merely a pleasant sound. They are a biological and psychological cue for safety and rest. For our ancient ancestors, the sound of the waves likely meant they were on the coast, a place of abundant food and a clear vista, safe from the hidden predators of the deep forest. The sound is woven into our DNA as a signal that we can, for a moment, let down our guard. There is also a beautiful constancy to it. The waves do not care for our human dramas. They do not pause for grief or celebration. They have been arriving and retreating in their endless cycle since before the first creature crawled onto the land, and they will continue long after we are gone. This might sound bleak, but it is, in fact, a source of immense comfort. It places our own brief lives into a much larger, calmer perspective. Our worries and triumphs are but a moment in the endless, soothing rhythm of the sea. So as you listen to this sound, either here with me now or in your own memory, give yourself permission to be soothed by its simple physics. Imagine that energy, born from the wind, maturing into a steady swell during its long, transoceanic journey, and finally offering itself up to the shore in a peaceful, predictable crash. It is a cycle of energy, from chaos to order, from storm to serenity. Let your breathing fall into sync with its pace, a slow, deep breath in as the wave gathers and rises, and a long, slow breath out as it breaks and washes ashore, pulling your tensions back out to sea with the receding foam. There is no need to hold on to anything here. The waves will keep coming, each one a fresh start, a clean slate, a gentle, rhythmic lullaby, written by the ocean itself. As we walk a little farther from the water's edge, our feet sink into the soft, warm blanket of the beach itself. Sand. It seems so simple, so commonplace, but to hold a handful of sand is to hold a universe of time. It is one of the most relaxing facts of the coast. This soft, yielding carpet beneath our feet is, in truth, the deep and patient slumber of ancient mountains. Every single grain of sand has a story that begins not here, by the sea, but far inland, in the high and rugged places of the world. Picture a mighty mountain range like the Himalayas or the Rockies. Its granite peaks seem the very definition of permanence, defying the sky for millions of years. But nothing on this earth is truly immune to the patient hands of time. The story of sand is a story of erosion, but not one of violent destruction. It is a story of gentle, relentless persuasion. It begins with the slow-motion drama of temperature. By day, the sun heats the rock, causing it to expand ever so slightly. By night, the cold air of the altitude causes it to contract. Over countless cycles of heating and cooling, microscopic fractures begin to form. Then, water joins the conversation. Rain, slightly acidic from the atmosphere, seeps into these tiny cracks. In winter, that water freezes. And when water freezes, it expands with a force so powerful it can pry apart the hardest granite. This is the work of frost wedging, a slow, crystalline chisel that patiently splinters stone. Once a fragment is freed, gravity takes over. It tumbles down a slope, joining other fragments in a slow, gritty river of rock and debris. A mountain stream fed by melting snow then takes custody of these fragments. The journey downstream begins, a journey that may last for thousands of years. In the river, the rock fragments are never still. They are rolled, tumbled, and bounced against each other for hundreds of miles. With every collision, a little more of their rough, jagged history is chipped away. They are being smoothed, rounded, and polished by the very motion of the water. The minerals that once formed a solid, unyielding cliff face are now being sorted. Harder minerals like quartz resist this wear and tear, and thus survive the long journey to the sea. Softer minerals like feldspar are ground down into even finer particles, becoming the silt and clay that cloud the water and eventually settle in calm, deep basin. By the time these tiny, well-traveled stones reach the ocean. They are already smooth pebbles, but their transformation is not yet complete. Now the ocean takes over the final stage of polishing. In the surf zone, the waves create a perpetual slow-motion rock tumbler. The pebbles and coarse sand are rolled back and forth day and night, year after year, century after century. They are ground against each other, their final sharp edges worn away until they become the fine, smooth, almost silky grains that feel so gentle between our toes. This process is unimaginably slow. A single grain of sand may represent thousands of years of mountain decay, river travel, and oceanic polishing. To stand on a beach, then, is to stand on a vast graveyard of mountains, each grain a tiny monument to a peak that has long since vanished. But it is not a sad thought. It is a deeply peaceful one. The sand is a testament to the fact that even the most solid, imposing, and permanent-looking structures in our world are subject to the gentle, rhythmic forces of change. The anxieties and stresses we feel, the things that seem so immovable and solid in our lives, are, in the grand scale of geological time, just like those mountains. And the steady, patient forces of time and experience are like the river and the sea, slowly wearing down their sharp, painful edges, smoothing them into something more manageable, more peaceful, until they too become just another part of the soft, beautiful landscape of our past. So the next time you feel the sand beneath your feet, remember its long and tranquil journey. It is the mountain softened. It is the storm quieted. It is the struggle resolved into a state of rest. Each grain is a promise that hardness does not last forever, that everything in time is worn smooth and returned to a state of peace. It is the earth's way of teaching us about letting go, about the comfort of smallness, and about the profound tranquility found in the deep, slow slumber of stone. After contemplating the immense journey of the sand, let us now come back to the present moment, to the simple, physical sensation it offers. There are few feelings in the world as instantly calming, as deeply grounding, as the whisper of warm sand between your toes. It is a direct and gentle conversation between your body and the earth, a tactile experience that quietly commands you to be here and only here. The first thing you notice is the temperature. On a sun-drenched beach, the sand just beneath the surface holds the day's warmth like a stored memory. It's a gentle, radiating heat that loosens tight muscles and soothes the soul. It is nature's own heating pad, vast and freely given. On a cooler evening, the sand may still retain a faint trace of that warmth, a comforting reminder of the sun that has since departed. Then comes the act of walking. On a firm surface, our walk is automatic, efficient. We move from point A to point B with little thought for the ground itself. But walking on sand is different. It is an act of participation. With each step, your foot sinks in and the sand yields to your weight, creating a perfect temporary mold of your soul. It is a soft resistance, not a hard defiance. This slight sinking forces your muscles to work in a different, more gentle way. It slows your pace, not as an obstacle, but as an invitation to amble, to wander, to meander without purpose. There is no rushing on a soft sand beach. The very ground insists upon a slower rhythm, and with this slow walking comes the sound. A soft, percussive whisper, a shh, 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 with every step. It is the sound of billions of tiny, smooth quartz, crystals rubbing against one another, a quiet, gritty hush that is the very opposite of the harsh clatter of shoes on pavement. This sound is acoustic proof of the sand's perfect consistency, each grain contributing to a soft, collective voice. It is a sound that masks the jarring noises of the modern world, replacing them with a simple, repetitive, and deeply soothing soundtrack. But the most intimate part of this experience is the feeling itself. The sand is not a single, solid entity, but a fluid collection of countless individuals. As your foot presses down, these tiny grains slide and shift, moving around your skin in a gentle, cascading flow. It is a delicate massage, 1,000 points of soft pressure that awaken the nerve endings in your feet in the most pleasant way. It is both solid and liquid, stable and shifting, a paradox you can feel. This sensation is profoundly grounding in the most literal sense. In our daily lives, we are often disconnected from the physical earth, separated by layers of flooring and rubber soles. But here, on the beach, that separation vanishes. The skin of your feet makes direct contact with the skin of the planet. There is a transfer of energy, a quiet exchange that seems to draw the static electricity of a busy mind down into the stable, patient earth. It is a return to a more elemental state, a brief moment of living as our ancestors did, connected directly to the land that sustains us. Psychologists speak of grounding or earthing as a way to reduce anxiety and stress. They suggest that this physical connection with the Earth's surface can have a calming effect on the nervous system. You need no scientific study, however, to feel the truth of this. The feeling of sand between your toes is its own evidence. It is a feeling that pulls you out of the whirlwind of your thoughts and anchors you firmly, safely in your body and in the present moment. Every worry about the future, every regret about the past seems to lose its sharp edge when your focus is narrowed to this simple, delightful sensation. The world shrinks to the space of your own footprint. The weight on your shoulders feels a little lighter, as if some of it has been left behind in each soft, yielding step you take. So, wherever you are, close your eyes and imagine it. Feel the warm, granular softness giving way beneath your feet. Hear the quiet, shushing sound of your own slow progress. Let this simple, physical act be a form of meditation. With every step, you are not going anywhere in particular. You are simply being, you are feeling, you are connecting, and in that gentle whisper of sand between your toes, you may just find a quiet, unshakable peace. As we settle into the rhythm of the waves, we begin to notice a larger, even more patient pattern at work. The waterline is not fixed. It is constantly, slowly shifting. Over the course of hours, the ocean inches its way up the beach, swallowing the dry sand, and then, just as deliberately, it retreats, leaving a damp, smooth canvas in its wake. This is the tide, the slow, reliable breathing of the ocean. And the force that guides this breath is not of this earth. It is a gentle, celestial pull from our companion in the sky, the moon. It is one of the most profound and relaxing facts of the coast. The vast, powerful sea in all its immensity responds to the quiet tug of a silent world 250,000 miles away. This is not a relationship of violence, but of graceful, predictable harmony, a cosmic dance between two partners who never touch. To understand this, we must let go of the idea of the ocean as a single, solid body of water. Instead, picture it as a fluid blanket draped over the rotating Earth. The moon's gravity, weak as it is over such a distance, exerts a gentle pull on this blanket. It doesn't yank the water away, but rather, it creates a subtle, bulging effect. The water on the side of Earth closest to the moon is pulled toward it, creating a bulge we experience as a high tide. But there is a second high tide simultaneously on the exact opposite side of the planet. This second bulge is the Earth itself being pulled, ever so slightly, away from the water on its far side. It is as if the moon and the Earth are partners in a spin, and the water on the far side is left slightly behind, piling up as a second gentle hill in the ocean. The Earth rotates through these two bulges of water, which is why most coastlines experience 2 high tides and 2 low tides every lunar day. The entire process is one of sublime balance and order. The sun, of course, adds its own gravitational voice to this chorus, sometimes strengthening the moon's pull to create the more dramatic spring tides, and at other times weakening it to create the gentler neap tides. But it is the moon that conducts this symphony. Its silent, steadfast presence is the metronome that sets the tempo for the ocean's breath, and what a comforting rhythm it is. While our human schedules are chaotic and unpredictable, the tide is a model of celestial reliability. It is never late. It is never early. It has followed this same rhythm for billions of years, long before the first life crawled onto the land to witness it. The tide does not care for our appointments or our anxieties. It is a force entirely beyond our control, and yet it is not a force to be feared. It is a force to be trusted. This is the deep solace of the tide. It represents a order so vast and so ancient that it can make our own daily turmoil feel small and temporary. The relentless slow inhale and exhale of the sea is a reminder that there are cycles in the universe that are unbreakable, that there is a rhythm to existence that is far greater than our own. To sit on a beach and watch the tide come in is to witness time itself made visible. You cannot see the hour hand move on a clock, but you can see, over the span of 20 minutes, that the water has claimed another inch of sand. It is a slow, gentle, and unstoppable force of nature that asks for nothing, and yet gives a profound lesson in patience. It teaches us that some things cannot and should not be rushed, that there is a time to advance and a time to recede, a time to cover and a time to reveal. The tide ensures that the intertidal zone, that magical, life-rich strip between high and low water, is constantly refreshed, nourished, and cleansed. It is a cycle of renewal written in water and directed by the moon. So the next time you feel the world is too much, remember this celestial partnership. Look up at the moon, whether it is a slender crescent or a brilliant full disk, and know that its quiet gravity is at this very moment guiding the ocean along its shores. It is pulling gently on the seas, and in its own way, it is pulling gently on you, reminding you to breathe, to inhale slowly and to exhale fully, to find your own tide, your own reliable rhythm in the vast, breathing and beautifully ordered cosmos. As the tide recedes, following the moon's silent call, it leaves behind a scattered treasure. In the rocky basins and sandy hollows along the shore, small worlds are born. These are the tide pools, perfect self-contained universes cradled in stone where the ocean's breath is held for a few precious hours. To kneel beside one is to be granted an audience with a realm of profound stillness and slow-motion life, a hidden sanctuary of quiet resilience. The first thing you notice is the clarity of the water. Without the churning energy of the surf, the silt settles and the water becomes a lens, magnifying a world of intricate detail. Sunlight, filtered through this crystalline meniscus, dapples the bottom with shifting, liquid patterns of gold. The world outside, the wind, the cries of gulls, the vastness of the open ocean, all of it seems to fade into a distant dream. Here, in this small, quiet pocket, a different kind of time reigns. This is a world built not on haste, but on patience. At the center of this miniature cosmos, you might find a sea anemone. When submerged by the high tide, it is a vibrant flower of the sea, its tentacles waving gently to capture passing nutrients. But as the water retreats, it undergoes a transformation. It slowly, deliberately draws its tentacles inward, folding in upon itself until it becomes a soft, gelatinous mound glistening in the sun. It is not sleeping but waiting. Its metabolism slows to a near standstill, conserving its energy and moisture, patient in the knowledge that the sea will return. It is a lesson in how to endure a period of scarcity by turning inward, by becoming still. Beside it, a starfish might be clinging to the rock. Its movement is so slow as to be almost imperceptible to the human eye. It is a creature of hydraulic engineering, using the pressure of seawater within its countless tube feet to methodically navigate its world. To watch a starfish is to have your own sense of time recalibrated. There is no rush. There is only the slow, steady, purposeful glide from one point to another, a journey that may take hours to travel just a few inches. Its pace is a quiet rebuke to our own frantic scurrying. Then a sudden, almost comical scuttle might draw your eye. A hermit crab, carrying the borrowed architecture of a whelk shell on its back, moves with a jittery purpose across the pool floor. But even its hurried movements are small and contained. It is not travelling far, merely seeking a patch of shade or a morsel of algae. It is a creature entirely at home in its temporary, shrinking world, a reminder that we can carry our sanctuary with us, even as our environment changes. The tide pool itself is a study in perfect equilibrium. It is a delicate balance of fresh rainwater and salty sea, of warming sun and cooling depths. Its inhabitants are masters of adaptation. The periwinkle snail seals itself to a rock with a leathery door, trapping a pocket of life-sustaining water inside its shell. Limpets clamp down with a grip so powerful they can withstand the drying sun and the pecking of birds. They are all experts in the art of waiting. There is a deep philosophical comfort to be found in this. The tide pool is a world that is perpetually being lost and reborn. Twice a day, it vanishes beneath the crashing waves, and twice a day, it is revealed again, its residents emerging from their quiet strategies of survival. This cycle is not a trauma, but a fundamental part of their existence. They are not frightened by the ocean's retreat. They are adapted to it. They trust the rhythm that has shaped them for millennia. In our own lives, we often fear periods of low tide, times of isolation, of quiet, of seeming separation from the nourishing currents of our daily lives. We fight the stillness, fearing it is a form of death. But the tide pool teaches us that these periods are not only natural, they are necessary. They are times for conservation, for introspection, for slowing our metabolism and turning inward. They are a chance to anchor ourselves, to wait with the quiet certainty that the waters will return, that the world will once again come to us, refreshed and renewed. To spend time with a tide pool is to practice a form of natural meditation. You must slow your breathing to match its pace. You must quiet your mind to hear its subtle sounds, the soft plink of a water droplet from a blade of seaweed, the faint crackle of a barnacle adjusting its plates, the gentle sigh of a bubble rising from the depths. Your world shrinks to the boundaries of this rocky basin, and in that smallness there is an immense peace. You are not a giant looking down, but a guest, peering into a self-contained cosmos, a universe in miniature. So, when the world feels too large and too loud, remember the quiet drama of the tide pool. Remember the anemone folded in patient waiting. Remember the starfish moving with glacial purpose. Remember the hermit crab making a home wherever it finds itself. They do not struggle against the cycle of the tides. They have learned to live in harmony with it, finding a deep, resilient stillness in the very heart of change. It is a stillness we can invite into our own lives, a quiet pocket of peace left behind by the retreating waves. After the intimate silence of the tide pool, we return to the open coast, but we turn our attention away from what we see and toward what we hear. On a rocky shoreline, the ocean does not whisper. It thunders. Yet this thunder is not a sound of terror, but of profound peace. It is one of nature's most powerful and reliable lullabies, the crash of waves against an unyielding shore. To understand why this sound is so deeply soothing, we must first understand what it is. A wave crashing against rocks is not a single sound, but a complex orchestra of acoustic events. It begins with the deep, resonant boom, as a wall of water first makes contact with the immovable stone. A low-frequency sound you feel in your chest as much as you hear with your ears. This is followed by the violent, rushing hiss and roar as the wave explodes, shattering into a million droplets and churning bubbles. Finally, there is the percussive rattle and drag as water and air retreat through the jumble of boulders and pebbles, tumbling them over one another in a watery avalanche. This entire sequence, boom, hiss, rattle, repeats. Again and again and again. This repetition is the first key to its power. The human brain is a pattern-seeking machine. In a world filled with unpredictable and jarring noises, a sudden car horn, a ringing phone, a fragment of overheard conversation, the predictable, rhythmic pattern of the waves is a cognitive sanctuary. It presents a sound that is complex enough to be interesting, yet predictable enough to be utterly non-threatening. The brain recognizes the pattern, acknowledges there is no danger, and can finally stand down from its constant, low-level vigil. The sound becomes a backdrop against which worry cannot easily compete. This phenomenon is known as acoustic masking. The complex, broadband frequencies of a crashing wave, from the deepest infrabass rumble to the highest frequency hiss of foam, create a sonic blanket that smothers other, more stressful sounds. It is the ultimate natural white noise machine. It doesn't just block out noise, it replaces a chaotic, unpredictable soundscape with a structured, powerful and consistent one. The anxieties of the day, the looping thoughts in your mind, they all seem to be drowned out, quite literally, by this immense and indifferent force of nature. But the lullaby of the waves goes even deeper, tapping into something primal within us. For our ancient ancestors, the sound of the ocean likely signified a place of abundance, a source of food like shellfish and crabs, and a landscape with a clear, open vista, safer from the hidden predators of dense forests. The sound may be hardwired into our neurology as a signal of safety and sustenance, a cue that it is safe to rest, that the tribe is settled for the night by a reliable source of life. There is also a physiological effect at play. The deep, low-frequency components of the wave crash can actually help to slow our heart rate and breathing. This is a state known as bradycardia, the opposite of the rapid heart rate associated with the fight or flight stress response. The relentless rhythm of the waves encourages our own internal rhythms to synchronize with this slower, more peaceful pace. Your breathing deepens, your muscles relax. It is a biological surrender to a rhythm far greater than your own. This sound is also a powerful trigger for the imagination. Unlike a monotonous, electronically generated tone, the crash of waves is never exactly the same twice. One wave may be a little louder, the next may have a longer, more drawn-out retreat. This slight variation keeps the mind gently engaged in a state of soft fascination, preventing it from boredom, but not demanding intense focus. It allows the mind to wander freely, to daydream, to drift without destination. It is in this state of free association that creativity often flourishes, and that the tight knots of conscious thought begin to loosen and unravel. Perhaps the most profound comfort, however, lies in the sheer indifference of the sound. The waves have been crashing like this for hundreds of millions of years. They crashed upon the shores of Pangaea, they crashed when dinosaurs roamed the land, and they will continue to crash long after every human structure has returned to dust. They do not care about your deadlines, your insecurities, or your past mistakes. This is not a cold, bleak truth, but a liberating one. It places our brief human lives into a vast, calm perspective. Our worries are not the center of the universe. They are merely a fleeting moment in the face of this eternal, rhythmic roar. So let the sound wash over you now. Don't fight it. Lean into it. Imagine each deep boom as a weight that pushes your anxieties deeper into the earth, Imagine the rushing hiss as a force that scrubs your mind clean of its clutter. And imagine the rattling retreat as all that tension and noise being pulled back, far out to sea, leaving you empty, quiet, and still. This is the gift of the rocky coast. It offers a lullaby written in water and stone, a song of immense power that exists only to bring you peace. It is the sound of the world breathing, a rhythmic reminder that you are safe, you are small, and in that smallness there is a profound and endless rest. So close your eyes and listen. Let the ocean sing you to sleep. As we walk along the water's edge, our eyes are often drawn downward to the scattered treasures left by the tide. Among the sand and polished stones we find them, seashells. Their forms are a study in perfect geometry, the logarithmic spiral of a whelk, the fluted fan of a scallop, the delicate coiled chamber of a nautilus. To find a shell is to find a small piece of art, but it is also to find a story. For every shell is an abandoned home, a piece of architectural brilliance left behind by a creature that has moved on, a silent relic of a life lived in the quiet depths. The story of a seashell begins not on the shore, but in the open water, as a microscopic, free-swimming larva. This tiny speck of life, a veliger, is one of countless millions, a testament to the ocean's abundance. When the time is right, it settles onto a surface, a grain of sand, a rock, a piece of seaweed, and begins the most important task of its life. It starts to build its home. The builder is a mollusk, a clam, a snail, an oyster, or an octopus, though the latter's house is often fleeting. It possesses a specialized organ called the mantle, a soft, cloak-like tissue that secretes a liquid cocktail of calcium carbonate and proteins. Layer by minuscule layer, this liquid hardens into a solid, crystalline structure, the shell. The animal doesn't consciously design its home. The blueprint is written in its DNA, a genetic memory of form and function that has been perfected over 500 million years. The result is an exoskeleton, a fortress of limestone that provides protection from predators, the crushing depths, and the relentless pull of the waves. But a shell is more than just a fortress. It is a living diary. As the mollusk grows, so too must its shell. You can see this history etched onto its surface. The concentric rings on a clamshell, much like the rings of a tree, often record periods of fast and slow growth corresponding to seasons of plenty and scarcity. The spines and ribs on a murex shell are not mere decoration. They are structural reinforcements designed to distribute stress and prevent cracking. Every bump, every color variation, every subtle curve is a page in the story of the animal's life, a permanent record of its struggles and its survival. The beautiful, shimmering interior of many shells, known as nacre or mother of pearl, is perhaps the most exquisite part of this architecture. This is not a single layer, but a microscopic brickwork of calcium carbonate platelets, laid down like a wall of tiny, interlocking mirrors. It is incredibly strong and resilient, and its iridescent sheen is a mere byproduct of its perfect structure, a beautiful accident of physics. Yet, for all this architectural genius, the shell is ultimately temporary. The mollusk inside is a soft, vulnerable creature. When it dies or is eaten by a predator like a crab or a starfish, the bond that holds it to its shell is broken. The home is vacated. Now, empty and weightless, the shell is at the mercy of the currents. This is when its final transformation begins. The ocean, which provided the materials for its construction, now becomes its polisher. Tumbled by the waves, scoured by the sand, the shell's sharp edges are slowly worn away. Its rough outer layer, the periostracum, is stripped back, often revealing the gleaming nacre beneath. Its colors, once muted for camouflage in the deep, are bleached and softened by the sun. The shell is being smoothed, simplified, and perfected by the patient hands of the sea. What was once a functional living structure becomes a beautiful, inert object. This is the state in which we find them. The shell we pick up is no longer a home. It is a memory of one. It is a relic, a fossil in the making. And there is a profound, gentle melancholy in that, but also a deep peace. The shell represents a life completed, a purpose fulfilled. It has been released from its duty and returned to the world, not as waste, but as a gift. This is why the simple act of collecting shells can be so meditative. We are not just gathering pretty objects. We are gathering stories of completed journeys. We are holding the abandoned architecture of the deep, a testament to a life we will never see. Each shell is a reminder of the endless cycle of life and death in the ocean. A cycle that is not violent, but natural and serene. Creatures are born, they build their homes, they live their quiet lives, and then they return their materials to the ecosystem. Their empty houses becoming treasures for others, so the next time you hold a seashell to your ear, you're not really hearing the ocean. The rush you hear is the resonance of your own blood, the ambient noise of your environment, amplified by the shell's coiled chamber. But the old story contains a deeper truth. You are listening to a story, the story of a tiny architect, of a life spent in the cool, dark water, of a slow, patient polishing by the waves. It is a story of impermanence and beauty, of structure yielding to the elements, and of the quiet, enduring elegance that remains long after the builder is gone. It is a story that needs no words. It is written in the spiral, in the smooth, cool surface, in the whisper of the sea that seems, somehow, to be trapped within. It is a story that reminds us that we, too, are temporary builders, and that there is a quiet beauty in what we leave behind. There is a moment when you first step onto a coastline that often precedes the sight of the water or the sound of the waves. It is the first deep breath. The air itself is different here. It carries a distinct crisp vitality, a cool, moist freshness with a sharp, clean tang of salt. This is the sea's greeting, the salty kiss of the ocean breeze, and it is one of the most immediate and restorative sensations the coast has to offer. But this feeling is not merely poetic. It is a profound physical experience, a gift from the atmosphere itself. To understand why sea air feels so uniquely refreshing, we must look at its components. The most famous, of course, is the salt. As waves break and churn, they launch countless microscopic droplets of seawater into the air, a fine, invisible mist known as sea spray. These droplets are rich with dissolved salts and minerals, and as they travel on the wind, they are inhaled. In low concentrations, this salt mist is not drying, but is believed to have a gentle, hygroscopic effect, helping to thin mucus in the respiratory system. For centuries, people have sought out the coast for relief from congestion and respiratory ailments, and this is a part of the reason. The air is a natural, gentle balm for the lungs. But the true magic of sea air lies in something even more subtle, something invisible and odorless: negative ions. An ion is simply an atom or molecule that has gained or lost an electrical charge. In our modern enclosed environments, our homes, offices and cars, we are often surrounded by an excess of positive ions. These are generated by electronic devices, air conditioning and industrial pollution. An overabundance of positive ions has been linked to feelings of lethargy, tension and even headaches. The coastline, however, is a natural factory for negative ions. The entire process of a wave crashing, the violent, turbulent collision of water, the shattering of droplets, the friction of water molecules tearing apart, releases a tremendous shower of these negatively charged particles into the air. Waterfalls and thunderstorms produce a similar effect, but the ocean is the most constant and reliable source on the planet. When we breathe in this ion-rich air, a fascinating biological interaction occurs. The negative ions are absorbed into our bloodstream and are believed to trigger biochemical reactions that increase our levels of serotonin, a key neurotransmitter responsible for mood, focus, and a sense of well-being. The effect is a natural mood elevation, a subtle but perceptible lightening of the spirit. It can sharpen mental clarity and reduce feelings of stress and anxiety. It is, in essence, a form of atmospheric therapy. That feeling of waking up, of your mind feeling rinsed clean after a walk along a windswept beach, is not just in your imagination. It is a measurable physiological response to the air you are breathing. Beyond the ions, the coastal air is simply cleaner. It has often traveled thousands of miles across the open ocean, far from the sources of industrial and automotive pollution that cloud the air over cities and inland areas. Particulate matter, the fine dust, smoke, and allergens that can irritate our lungs and sinuses, is largely absent. To breathe sea air is to breathe the way humans were meant to, deeply and without resistance. The lungs expand fully, the diaphragm descends without obstruction, and the body is flooded with clean, oxygen-rich air. Then there is the smell. That unique, indefinable scent of the sea is a complex perfume known as petrichor of the ocean. It is a blend of compounds released by marine algae and bacteria, most notably a sulfur-based molecule called dimethyl sulfide. This is the scent of life itself, the chemical signature of the vast, invisible planktonic world that forms the base of the ocean's food web. When we smell the sea, we are not just smelling salt and water. We are smelling the very breath of the marine ecosystem, a scent that is ancient, primal, and deeply calming to our senses. All of these elements combine into a single, holistic experience. The cool moisture in the air soothes the mucous membranes. The negative ions lift the mood. The cleanliness of the air allows for effortless breathing, and the primal scent connects us to a world beyond our own concerns. It is an environment that actively promotes physiological and psychological restoration. This is why we feel so drawn to take a deep, sighing breath when we reach the coast. It is an unconscious act of purification. We are exhaling the stale, positively charged, particulate-laden air of our indoor lives and inhaling the cool, charged, clean, and life-scented air of the sea. It is a reset button for the entire system, so wherever you are, take a deep, slow breath now. Imagine it is this coastal air filling your lungs. Picture the negative ions swirling into your bloodstream, bringing a wave of calm focus. Feel the cool, slight moisture of the salt mist soothing your airways, and smell that distant, clean, briny scent of the open ocean. It is a reminder that the simplest act, the act of breathing, can be transformed into a powerful tool for peace, a gentle, constant kiss from the sea that reminds your entire being what it feels like to be truly, deeply refreshed. Beyond the wide, flat beach, the land begins to rise in soft, flowing shapes like waves of earth frozen in mid-swell. These are the coastal dunes, the silent, shifting guardians of the shore. They seem so still, so permanent, like sleeping giants resting in the sun. But to see them as static is to miss their quiet, patient, and perpetual dance. A dune is not a place, but a process, a slow, graceful migration, a partnership between the wind and the most steadfast of pioneers. The life of a dune begins with a single grain of sand dried by the sun on the beach. The wind, that invisible sculptor, skims across the surface, lifting this grain and countless others, carrying them inland. This is not a violent sandstorm, but a gentle, constant transport. When the wind meets an obstacle, a piece of driftwood, a clump of seaweed, even a footprint, it slows down. As it slows, it drops its sandy cargo. Grain by grain, a tiny mound begins to form. This is the birth of a dune, but a simple pile of sand is fragile at the mercy of the next strong gust. For a dune to truly live, to grow and become a guardian, it needs an anchor. This is where the true heroes of this story emerge. The dune grasses. Species like marram grass or American beach grass are the steadfast tenants of this shifting world. Their seeds, carried by wind or birds, find purchase in the loose sand. They send down roots that are not just deep, but wide, weaving a dense, living net that binds the sand together. And they grow upward in tough, resilient blades designed to bend in the wind but never break. The grass does not stop the wind. It collaborates with it. As the wind blows through the grass, it is forced to slow and drop more of its sandy burden. The dune grows taller, and the grass, not to be buried, simply grows taller still, always staying ahead of the accumulation. It is a slow, patient race between plant and element, a race that has been going on for centuries, resulting in these majestic, rolling hills. This is why walking on a dune is a sacred act. The delicate network of roots lies just beneath the surface, and a single misplaced step can damage years of patient work. The paths that wind through dunes are not just convenient. They are a form of respect for this slow and careful construction. The dune is a world of constant, gentle motion. The windward side of a dune has a long, gradual slope where the wind smoothly deposits its load. The top, or crest, is a delicate balance, and the leeward side, sheltered from the wind, is a steeper, softer slope known as the slip face. Here, sand accumulates until gravity takes over, causing miniature avalanches that slowly, grain by grain, advance the dune inland. A dune does not stay in one place. It is a traveller, moving at a pace so slow it is measured in years or even decades. A slow-motion wave of sand marching inexorably away from the sea. This movement is not a threat, but a vital function. The dune system acts as a natural shock absorber for the coast. During storms and high tides, it is the dunes that bear the brunt of the ocean's fury, sacrificing their sand to protect the fragile ecosystems, the freshwater wetlands, the forests and the human settlements that lie behind them. They are a flexible, self-repairing barrier, a bulwark that yields but never breaks. They absorb the energy of the sea, dissipating it grain by grain. There is a profound lesson in this. The dune does not resist the wind. It uses its energy to grow. It does not fight the storm. It sacrifices a part of itself to protect what is behind it. It is a model of resilience through adaptation, not through rigid defiance. It teaches us that sometimes the strongest stance is one of graceful yielding, of bending and shifting without losing one's fundamental structure. To sit in the lee of a dune, sheltered from the wind, is to experience one of the coast's most profound silences. The sound of the ocean is muffled, and the world shrinks to the curve of sand around you. The air is warm, and the only movement is the slow, creeping shadow of a cloud or the delicate track of a beetle making its way across the fine grains. This is the domain of the sleeping giant, a place of immense, quiet power. The dune reminds us that not all guardians carry shields and swords. Some are made of sand and grass. Their strength lies in their patience, their deep-rooted community, and their willingness to move and change with the forces that shape them. They are a testament to the power of small, consistent actions, a single blade of grass, a single grain of sand repeated over time to create something vast, beautiful and protective. So when you see these soft, golden hills rising behind the beach, remember they are alive. They are breathing with the wind, growing with the grass, and marching to a rhythm older than human history. They are the silent, shifting, sleeping giants, standing watch over the edge of the world, and in their slow, patient dance, there is a deep and abiding peace. As we walk beyond the shelter of the dunes, the world opens up. The beach stretches wide, and before us lies the most simple, yet most profound feature of the coastline, the horizon. It is nothing more than a line, a seemingly perfect razor-straight division between two vast blue realms. There are no details here, no complexities, no beginning and no end. It is a study in minimalism painted by nature itself, and it offers one of the most powerful and relaxing gifts the coast can provide, a place for the mind to rest. In our daily lives, our vision is constantly busy. It darts from screen to text, from face to object, navigating a world cluttered with information, advertisements, and countless demands for our attention. Our visual field is a mosaic of sharp angles, competing colors, and dense detail. There is no single quiet place for the eye to settle. This constant visual processing is a silent, draining tax on our cognitive resources, contributing to a background hum of mental fatigue. Then we come to the shore, and here the horizon offers a radical alternative. It is a clean, unbroken line. It presents no details to decipher, no text to read, no complex shapes to unravel. It is a visual sigh. When you gaze at the horizon, the tiny muscles in your eyes, which are constantly flexing to focus on near and mid-range objects, can finally relax. They can settle into a state of neutral, distant focus. This physical relaxation of the eyes sends a signal directly to the brain, a signal that the intense, focused work of passing a complicated world is, for now, complete. It is a physiological trigger for a state of calm. But the horizon's power is more than just optical. It is deeply psychological. This simple line represents the ultimate limit of our perception. We cannot see what lies beyond it. In our normal lives, we are conditioned to want to know, to control, to see around the next corner. The horizon gently but firmly tells us no. It defines the edge of the known world, and in doing so, it relieves us of the burden of what lies beyond. All the complexity, the worry, the endless planning for future eventualities, it all stops at that line. The horizon is a boundary that contains our concerns, giving us permission to exist only in the present moment, in the space between the water at our feet and that distant, perfect line. This is why the horizon is a universal symbol of possibility and hope. It is not a wall, but a threshold. It speaks of journeys, of discovery, of a future that is yet unwritten. The phrase "on the horizon" means something is coming, something new is approaching. Yet, it is a gentle possibility. There is no urgency to cross it, to solve its mystery. It is enough to simply contemplate it, to wonder, to dream. It invites imagination without demanding action. It is a canvas for the mind upon which we can project our quietest hopes and our most serene daydreams. There is also a profound sense of scale that the horizon imposes. To stand before it is to feel, in the most humbling and comforting way, your own smallness. The universe is divided into two immense, simple blocks, the sea and the sky, and you are a tiny, temporary witness at their meeting point. This realization does not diminish us. It liberates us. The weight of our individual dramas, which can feel so immense and all-consuming, is placed into a vast, calm perspective. Our worries are not the center of the universe. They are small, fleeting things against this timeless, elemental division. This feeling can be a tremendous relief, a release from the ego's constant, frantic chatter. Different horizons offer different shades of this same peace. On a perfectly clear day, the line is sharp and definitive, a crisp, confident stroke separating two brilliant blues. It offers a sense of order and clarity. On a hazy day, the line softens, blurring into a gentle gradient where sea and sky bleed into one another. This horizon feels more dreamlike, more fluid, encouraging a softening of our own rigid thoughts. And at sunrise or sunset, the horizon becomes a stage for the most spectacular, yet silent performance on Earth, a slow, majestic transformation of color that requires no ticket, no crowd, only a quiet audience of one. To practice gazing at the horizon is a form of meditation. It is an exercise in letting go. You let go of the need for visual stimulation. You let go of the urge to know what comes next. You let go of the feeling that you are the center of your world. You simply breathe and watch the line. With each inhalation, the vastness of the sky fills you. With each exhalation, your tensions flow out across the endless sea. So whenever the world feels too close, too loud, too complicated, find your horizon. If you cannot come to the coast, find a long, open view from a hill, or even imagine this line in your mind's eye. Let it be a visual anchor, a place of rest for your busy mind. It is the earth's gentle reminder that peace is often found not in having all the answers, but in being content to gaze upon the beautiful, simple question of what lies beyond. It is the place where the world simplifies itself into sea, sky, and a single, serene line, a boundary that contains everything and yet promises everything. After the vast, open perspective of the horizon, our journey along the coast brings us back to something immediate, tangible, and deeply comforting. On a rocky shoreline, scattered like slumbering beasts among the pools and crevices, lie the great sun-baked rocks. To find one, warmed through by a day of sunlight, is to find one of the coast's most simple and profound gifts. A perfect, natural heating pad for a weary body and a tired spirit. There is a unique, almost primal satisfaction in the warmth of stone. Unlike the air, which cools the moment the sun dips behind a cloud, or a manufactured heating pad that buzzes with artificial energy, a sun-warmed rock possesses a deep, patient, and generous heat. It is a warmth that has been earned and stored, a testament to the sun's slow, daily alchemy. The process begins in the morning. As the first rays of sunlight touch the cold, damp stone from the night before, a slow transformation starts. The rock, typically a dark granite or basalt, is a master at absorbing solar energy. Its complex mineral composition and dense structure allow it to soak up the sun's photons, converting light into thermal energy, storing it not just on the surface, but deep within its crystalline heart. Throughout the day, it acts as a silent battery, charging itself with the day's radiance, its temperature rising steadily, patiently, until it reaches a peak in the late afternoon, a reservoir of captured sunlight. This is the perfect time to find your resting place. The approach is a ritual in itself. You place a hand on its surface. The first sensation is a dry, gentle heat, not a scalding touch, but a firm, welcoming warmth. It is a clean heat, devoid of the stickiness of a sunburn or the stuffiness of a heated room. You settle against it, your back conforming to its unyielding yet welcoming shape. And then the true magic begins. The heat does not merely sit on the surface, it radiates. It is a deep, penetrating warmth that seems to seep through your clothes and into your muscles, unknotting the tight cords of tension held in your shoulders and back. It is a soothing, conductive heat, a direct transfer of energy from the stable earth to your transient body. This is the same principle as a hot stone massage, but here it is offered freely by nature with no schedule or appointment. The rock seems to share its stored vitality, its slow and steady pulse of heat, easing the frantic pace of your own. There is a beautiful, grounding solidity to this experience. The rock is the very definition of stability. It does not shift or yield. It supports you completely, asking for nothing in return. In a world that often feels fluid and uncertain, to lean against something so ancient and so immovable is a profound reassurance. You are anchored. The rock has endured countless days and nights, storms and calms, and it will endure countless more. Your presence against it is a brief moment in its long, slow life, and there is a deep peace in that temporary partnership. As you sit, you become aware of the rock's own slow rhythm. The heat is not static. It is slowly, imperceptibly being released. It is a warmth in motion, a gradual surrender of the day's energy back to the cooler evening air. You are in that moment a beneficiary of this gentle release. The rock is keeping you warm, even as it itself begins to cool. It is a selfless, quiet act of giving. This experience connects us to our most ancient past. For our ancestors, a sun-warmed rock would have been a place of rest, a refuge from the cold, a spot to gather and share warmth. The feeling is woven into our DNA as a signal of safety, of a moment's respite from the struggle for survival. The simple, physical comfort translates directly into a psychological one. The warmth on your skin becomes a warmth in your spirit, a feeling of being cared for by the world itself. Furthermore, the warmth of the rock is a lesson in patience and timing. It did not become warm in an instant, and it will not lose its heat quickly. It teaches the value of slow accumulation and gradual release. There is a right time to seek its comfort, the golden hour of the late afternoon, just as there is a right time in our own lives for rest and for action. It reminds us that the best comforts are often those that are earned and awaited, not those that are instantly gratified. So, when you find yourself on a rocky shore as the day wanes, seek out one of these sun-baked sentinels. Let its steadfastness still your restless thoughts. Let its deep, radiant warmth loosen the physical manifestations of your stress. Close your eyes and feel the exchange, the cool sea breeze on your face and the steady, generous heat of the stone at your back. It is a perfect balance. You are at the edge of the fluid, ever-changing sea, yet supported by the solid, constant earth. And between them, you are warmed by a memory of the sun, a stored echo of the day's light, offered to you by a silent, slumbering giant. It is a simple, profound, and deeply relaxing comfort, the gift of a sun-baked rock. As our journey continues, the soft, yielding sand and the low, rolling dunes give way to something more monumental. The land rises up, not in a gentle slope, but in a sheer, vertical wall that dares the sea to do its worst. These are the coastal cliffs, the gentle giants of the shoreline. They do not invite a stroll, they command a gaze. To stand before them is to feel a different kind of peace, not the peace of softness, but the peace of immense, patient, and unshakable strength. A cliff is not a single entity, but a library of time. Its face is a cross-section of the earth's memory, each layer a chapter written in stone. You can see them, these horizontal stripes of color, the dark band of ancient lava flows, the lighter stripe of volcanic ash, the pale, gritty line of an old seabed packed with shells, the soft, crumbly layer of compressed clay. Each stratum represents thousands, even millions of years of deposition, of quiet accumulation at the bottom of an ancient sea or under a long-vanished river. These layers were once horizontal, laid down in calm chronological order. Then the titanic forces of tectonics lifted them, tilted them, and set them on their end, raising this stone ledger to the sky for us to read. The cliff stands as a sentinel in a war of attrition that is fought on a timescale we can barely comprehend. Its opponent is the sea, an enemy of relentless, gentle caresses and occasional, furious blows. The battle is one of contrasting strengths. The cliff's strength is its solidity, its immovable mass. The ocean's strength is its fluidity, its endless, patient persistence. The sea attacks with its tools. It wields the sand and pebbles it has ground from other cliffs, using them as abrasive sandpaper to scour and groove the rock at the waterline, carving out notches and sea caves. It exploits the weaknesses in the rock, the cracks and fissures formed by eons of stress. Water forces itself into these cracks, and when it freezes, it expands with explosive force, prying the stone apart from within. It is a battle fought, with water, ice, and grit, a slow-motion sculpture that has been ongoing since the cliff first rose from the waves. And yet, the cliff appears unmoved. It stands with a profound stillness that can quiet the most restless mind. While the ocean is a frenzy of constant motion, waves rushing in, pulling back, swirling and churning, the cliff is a portrait of absolute stability. It does not flinch, it does not react, it simply is. This stillness is not passive, it is an active, powerful presence. It is the stillness of deep time, the calm of an entity that measures its life in geologic eras, not in human years. To sit at the edge of a cliff looking out over the ocean is to be perched between two immensities. Below you, the raw, chaotic power of the sea. Before you, the endless expanse of the sky. And beneath you, the solid, silent certainty of the rock. In this position, your own worries are shrunk to their true proportion. The cliff has endured ice ages and volcanic eruptions. It has watched sea levels rise and fall. It has been witness to a history so long that the entire span of human civilization is but a blink in its memory. The anxieties that feel so large and immediate in our daily lives are, in the face of this gentle giant, revealed as fleeting and small. This is not a dismissal of our struggles, but a comforting contextualization. Our lives are brief, beautiful moments, and the cliff is a reminder that the world itself is built on a foundation of enduring, patient strength. There is also a deep sense of safety in the cliff's presence, provided one keeps a respectful distance. It is a bastion, a natural fortress. It has provided shelter for countless generations of nesting seabirds and for ancient human settlements that sought its defensible heights and commanding views. To be on the cliff is to be on the ramparts of the continent, looking out from a place of security toward the great unknown. The cliff teaches a different kind of resilience than the dune. The dune yields, adapts, and moves. The cliff stands firm. It accepts the blows of the storm and the constant nagging erosion of the waves, and it remains steadfast. It shows us that there is a time for flexibility, and there is a time for simply holding your ground, for being an unmovable reference point in a chaotic world. As the sun sets, the cliff's face becomes a canvas for the day's final light. The low angle of the sun illuminates the subtle colors of its strata, the reds, ochres, and grays, bringing its ancient history to life in a warm, golden glow. The booming of the waves below seems to soften, becoming the giant's slow, rhythmic breath. So when you find yourself in the presence of these gentle giants, do not just look at them. Listen to their silence. Feel their solidity through the ground beneath your feet. Read the story of millions of years written on their faces. Let their immense, patient stillness seep into you. They are a reminder that while the world changes, there are foundations that endure. They are the eternal sentinels, the quiet guardian of the coast, offering a peace that is as deep and as ancient as the stone itself. There is a different kind of magic that descends upon the coastline long after the sun has set, when the world is reduced to the silvery light of the moon and the inky blackness of the sea. On certain nights, under the right conditions, the ocean decides to create its own stars. This is the phenomenon of bioluminescence, a gentle, living light that transforms the waves into a swirling galaxy and the shoreline into a dream. To witness it is to step into a fable. You walk down to the water's edge on a moonless night, the sand cool beneath your feet. At first, there is only darkness and the sound of your own breathing. Then as a lazy wave rolls in, its crest suddenly ignites with a cool, ethereal blue-green light. It looks as though a seam of liquid electricity is stitching its way along the shore. You step into the shallows, and with every movement light erupts around your ankles. A gentle sweep of your hand through the water paints swirling, vanishing constellations. Each footstep on the wet sand creates a fleeting, luminous footprint that fades like a ghostly echo. The ocean, usually a vast, dark mystery by night, has suddenly revealed the secret, shimmering life within it. This enchantment is not magic, but a breathtaking form of chemistry. The light comes from trillions of tiny, single-celled organisms, most often a type of plankton called dinoflagellates. Within their microscopic bodies, they hold a molecule called luciferin and an enzyme called luciferase. When the dinoflagellate is physically agitated by the pressure of a breaking wave, the swipe of a hand, or even the passage of a fish, these two components mix, triggering a chemical reaction that releases a tiny, cold flash of light. It is a biological alarm system, a brief, brilliant flash meant to startle a potential predator, or to attract a larger predator that might eat the creature about to eat them. The entire ocean becomes a vast, silent fireworks display where each spark is a minute act of self-preservation. The color of this light is almost always a soft, otherworldly blue-green. There is a beautiful practical reason for this. Blue and green light travels the farthest through seawater. The light these creatures produce is perfectly tuned to the medium they live in, a testament to the flawless logic of evolution. To our eyes, it is the color of dreams, of memory, of a cool, clean energy that seems to purify the night. To stand in a bioluminescent bay or along a glowing shore is to experience a profound sensory reversal. The darkness which usually conceals now reveals. It is only in the absence of all other light that this soft, biological glow can be perceived. You are not looking at the water, but into it, seeing the invisible currents and the hidden pulsing life that is always there. Every movement, from the great sweeping arc of a wave to the tiniest flick of your finger, writes a temporary, glowing signature on the surface of the deep. This experience is deeply humbling. The light is not for you. You are merely an incidental disturbance in their world, a passing giant triggering their ancient chemical defenses. Yet, the result is one of the most beautiful and peaceful interactions a human can have with nature. There is no sound, only the quiet swish of water and the silent visual symphony of light. It is a private show, a conversation between your movement and the ocean's hidden life, conducted in flashes of blue and green. There is a lesson in this gentle glow, a lesson about the hidden worlds that exist just beyond the limits of our ordinary perception. We walk through our days assuming that what we see is all there is. The bioluminescent sea reminds us that there is wonder lurking just beneath the surface, in the dark, quiet places. It teaches us that sometimes you have to be still and wait for the darkness to fall to see the true light that a thing possesses. It also speaks to the power of collective, tiny actions. A single dinoflagellate produces a flash of light too small for the human eye to see from a distance. But when billions, trillions of them flash in unison, they can illuminate an entire bay, outline the form of a dolphin, or set the crest of a wave on fire. It is a testament to how small individual beings, acting together, can create something of breathtaking, transcendent beauty. So, if you are ever fortunate enough to find yourself on a dark beach, and you see the water begin to glow, walk slowly, wade in gently. Let the cool, liquid light swirl around your legs. Watch your movements become art in the water. This is not a spectacle to be captured, but an experience to be felt. It is the ocean sharing one of its most delicate and beautiful secrets, a silent, shimmering lullaby written in light, a reminder that even in the deepest dark, there is a soft, living glow waiting to be awakened. After the celestial drama of the bioluminescent sea, the dawn reveals a different, quieter kind of artistry. As the tide recedes, it leaves behind a vast, damp canvas upon which it has sketched one of the most consistent and soothing patterns in the natural world. Beach ripples. These undulating lines running parallel to the shore in near-perfect repetition are more than just a texture on the sand. They are a frozen moment in a slow, fluid dance between water and earth, a visible signature of the ocean's breath and a profound symbol of natural order. To see a wide, rippled beach at low tide is to see a landscape of exquisite rhythm. The lines are never perfectly straight, but they are perfectly organized, flowing around obstacles in gentle, predictable curves, like the grain in a piece of polished wood. Their spacing is regular, their height uniform. This is not random chaos. It is a pattern born from the most fundamental laws of physics, a collaboration between fluid dynamics and granular material. The creation of these ripples is a story of instability and resolution. As the water from a retreating wave flows back down the beach, it forms a thin, shallow sheet. This flow is initially smooth or laminar, but the sandbed beneath it is not perfectly even. A tiny, random bump on the seabed is enough to disrupt this smooth flow. The water speeding over the bump has to rise slightly, and as it does, it accelerates. This faster-moving water has less pressure, and it begins to erode the sand just downstream of the bump, pulling grains from the trough and depositing them on the next crest. In an instant, a feedback loop is born. The bump grows, which further disrupts the flow, which makes the bump grow even more. What emerges from this process is a series of miniature hills and valleys, the ripples. Their size and spacing are not arbitrary. They are dictated by the speed of the current and the size of the sand grains. Faster water and coarser sand create larger, more widely spaced ripples. Slower, gentler currents over fine sand create a delicate, almost silken texture of tiny, closely spaced ridges. The beach, in this way, becomes a record of the tide's final fading energy. By reading the ripples, one can almost feel the force of the water that has just departed. There is a deep, cognitive comfort in this pattern. The human mind is wired to seek order, to find familiar shapes and rhythms in the world. The chaotic, unpredictable nature of daily life often denies us this. But here, on the beach, is a pattern that is both complex and perfectly predictable. It is a visual representation of a problem being solved, of chaos resolving into harmony. The endless parallel lines give the eye a place to rest and travel, a visual rhythm that is as calming as the rhythmic sound of the waves that created it. These ripples are also a testament to impermanence. They are temporary artworks etched onto a shifting medium. The next high tide will smooth them away, resetting the canvas. The following low tide will create a new set, similar but never identical. This cycle of creation and destruction is not a loss, but a constant, gentle renewal. It teaches us to appreciate beauty in the moment, to understand that nothing is meant to last forever, and that there is a quiet joy in witnessing a perfect, fleeting moment of order. We can walk upon these patterns, leaving our own footprints to disrupt them, knowing that the ocean will soon return to erase our marks and draw its own once more. Beyond the familiar sand ripples, this same physics creates other, more dramatic patterns. On some beaches, lower tides reveal larger, more undulating forms known as sand waves, with wavelengths of several meters. In other places, the interaction of waves approaching the shore at an angle can create beautiful, branching tree-like patterns known as tidal creeks, which drain the beach with the fractal elegance of a lung or a tree. To walk across a rippled beach is a tactile as well as a visual pleasure. The ridged surface provides a gentle, textured massage for the soles of the feet, each step a connection with this finely tuned physical structure. The sound of your foot crushing the delicate ridges is a soft, crumbling whisper, a reminder of the fragile, temporary nature of this ordered world. The consistent pattern of beach ripples is, in its essence, a lesson in equilibrium. It is the form that emerges when the driving force of the water and the resisting force of gravity and sand achieve a perfect, dynamic balance. It is a state of rest that is full of potential, a paused moment in an endless cycle. So the next time you walk along a rippled shore, pause for a moment. Kneel down and trace the lines with your finger. Feel the perfect miniature geography. Understand that you are looking at a universal language, a pattern that is written not just on beaches, but on the beds of rivers, the surfaces of deserts, and even the landscapes of other planets. It is a pattern of balance, of rhythm, and of transient beauty. In a world that often feels disordered, these simple lines are a gentle reassurance that beneath the chaos, there is a consistent, elegant order, a quiet, rhythmic pulse written in sand and water, waiting patiently for the tide to return and begin the dance anew. Far from the dynamic shores of sand and rock, in the clear, sun-dappled waters of the tropics, the coastline extends its life in a different, more ancient way. Here, in the warm, shallow seas, the coast is not built by the erosion of mountains or the deposition of sand, but by the patient, collective breath of billions of tiny, soft-bodied animals. These are the coral reefs, the great silent cities of the sea. And their story is not one of years or decades, but of centuries and millennia, a testament to the profound power of deep, slow time. The architect of this underwater metropolis is the coral polyp, a creature so simple and small it could rest on your fingertip. It is little more than a sac-like animal, a relative of the jellyfish and sea anemone, with a ring of stinging tentacles surrounding a single, central mouth. To the casual observer, it seems insignificant. But this tiny polyp possesses a miraculous ability. It pulls calcium and carbonate from the seawater and, from these dissolved minerals, weaves for itself a hard, protective cup of limestone, an exoskeleton, a tiny, permanent apartment of stone, a single polyp. Building its tiny cup is a solitary mason. But coral polyps do not live alone. They are colonial creatures living in vast communities of genetically identical individuals, all connected by living tissue. They work in unison, generation after generation. When a polyp dies, it leaves its limestone cup behind. The next generation builds its own cup directly on top of the old one. Then the next and the next and the next. Over hundreds of years, this slow, steady accumulation of countless tiny skeletons builds into the fantastic, sprawling structures we know as coral reefs. A single massive coral head, the size of a small car. Maybe thousands of years old, a layered archive of its own history. Its growth rings telling a story of past climates, much like the rings of an ancient tree, but the polyp does not work alone. Within its own tissues, it hosts millions of microscopic algae called zooxanthellae. This is one of the most successful partnerships in nature. The algae, through photosynthesis, convert the sun's energy into sugars, providing up to 90% of the polyp's food. In return, the polyp provides the algae with a safe home and a steady supply of the carbon dioxide and nutrients it needs. This symbiotic relationship is the engine of the reef. It is what allows the coral to grow fast enough to outpace the ocean's constant erosion. The vibrant, breathtaking colors of a healthy reef are not the colors of the coral polyps themselves, which are mostly translucent, but the colors of the billions of algae living inside them, a city painted by its own internal gardens. This process is almost unimaginably slow. A reef might grow only a few centimeters in a good year. Some massive corals grow less than a centimeter per year. The Great Barrier Reef, the largest living structure on Earth, visible from space, is not a single entity, but a vast mosaic of nearly 3,000 individual reefs. Its foundation began to form over 20 million years ago. The reef we see today began growing on that older foundation about 20,000 years ago, as the last ice age ended and sea levels rose. To stand on a boat above, a reef is to float over a structure that has been under construction since before the dawn of human civilization. This deep time bestows upon the reef a sense of majesty and permanence that dwarfs human concerns. These are the oldest, largest living structures on the planet. They have witnessed the shifting of continents, the birth and death of species, and the entire fleeting story of humankind. Our own lives, with all their drama and urgency, are but a single brief flicker in the long, slow life of the reef. This perspective is not humiliating. It is deeply calming. It reminds us that the world operates on rhythms far longer and more patient than our own. The reef itself is a place of serene, bustling life, yet its growth is a study in silence and stillness. The polyps do not rush. They extend their tentacles under the cover of darkness, feeding on plankton, and spend their days in a quiet, photosynthetic partnership. The great branching antlers of staghorn coral, the massive brain-like folds of boulder coral, the delicate fan-like whips of sea whips, all of it is built by this same patient millimeter by millimeter process. It is a lesson in what can be achieved not by force, but by consistency. Not by speed, but by unwavering collective persistence. There is a profound vulnerability here, too. This ancient, slow-growing world is exquisitely sensitive to changes in temperature and water chemistry. But its lesson in resilience is not one of brute strength, but of delicate balance and symbiotic cooperation. The reef teaches that the most magnificent things are often the most fragile, and that their survival depends on a harmony of relationships. To contemplate a coral reef is to understand deep time in a visceral way. It is to see a cathedral built not by human hands, but by countless generations of tiny, simple creatures, each contributing its minuscule stone to a grand collective masterpiece. It is a city of life, built from death, painted by sunlight, and governed by the slow, patient, and relentless turning of the geological clock. In its silent, sprawling beauty, the reef offers a peace that is as deep as the ocean itself. A reminder that the greatest wonders are not made in haste, but are woven grain by grain over the immense tranquil expanse of ages, after the immense ancient time of the reefs and the raw, open power of the sea. Our journey along the coast brings us to a place built not by nature alone, but by nature and human need in partnership, the harbour. A harbour is more than a convenience. It is a profound idea given physical form. It is the embodiment of sanctuary, a deliberate space carved out of chaos to provide the ultimate comfort, the comfort of stillness and safety. The magic of a harbour is understood the moment you pass the breakwater. This man-made arm of rock or concrete is the definitive line between two worlds. On one side lies the open sea, a realm of boundless energy, of swells that have gathered force over thousands of miles, of winds that can whip the surface into a frenzied chaos. It is a world of constant motion and latent power, beautiful in its wildness, but demanding of respect and vigilance. Then you cross the threshold. The change is immediate and palpable. The choppy, wind-whipped water gives way to a surface of almost perfect flatness. The roaring of the wind and waves is suddenly muted, replaced by a quiet, intimate soundscape. The harbour water is a dark, reflective mirror doubling the world above. The masts of sailboats become straight black lines against a twilight sky, their perfect reflections unbroken below. The lights from the shore shimmer in long, wavering pillars of gold on the water's surface. This stillness is not an absence of life, but a presence of peace. This is the feeling of safety made visible, made tangible. For a sailor, the harbour is the end of a journey, the place where vigilance can finally, fully relax. The lines are tied, the fenders are set, and the boat, which was a platform of constant, subtle motion, becomes as still as a house. The immense responsibility of navigating the unpredictable sea is temporarily lifted. There is a profound psychological release in this, a deep, somatic sigh that echoes the physical stillness of the water. The harbour is a promise fulfilled, the promise of rest, of shelter, of a respite from the struggle against the elements. This comfort extends beyond those on the water. To stand on a harbour pier is to partake in this sanctuary. You can lean against a weathered wooden piling, smelling the mix of salt, creosote and diesel, and feel the same profound sense of security. You are at the very edge of the continent, but you are protected. You can observe the raw power of the sea beyond the breakwater, but you are insulated from it. This creates a unique and deeply relaxing state of mind, a front-row seat to grandeur from a seat of absolute safety. The harbour is also a place of quiet, orderly industry. Unlike the chaotic natural world outside, the harbour has a human scale and logic. The boats are moored in neat rows, their bows all pointing into the wind. Their rigging forms a delicate black filigree against the sky. The gentle, rhythmic sound of water lapping against their hulls is a universal lullaby of the sea, a soft, percussive rhythm that speaks of rest and stasis. The occasional, lonely cry of a gull perched on a mast only emphasizes the deep quiet. There is a beautiful metaphor in the harbour's design. The breakwater does not attempt to destroy the power of the sea. It does not fight it head-on. Instead, it redirects it, absorbs its energy, and dissipates it. It is a lesson in intelligent resilience, the strength to provide calm not by eliminating force, but by understanding it and creating a barrier that allows one to exist beside it, untouched. We can learn from this in our own lives. We cannot stop the storms, but we can build our own breakwaters, practices, places, and relationships that provide an inner harbour of calm when the world outside becomes too turbulent. As day turns to evening, the harbour's peace deepens. The working boats return, their engines throttling down to a soft purr as they glide into their slips. The last of the sunlight fades, and the harbour transforms into a world of reflected constellations, both celestial and terrestrial. The water, so still, becomes a black canvas for the lights of the town, each one a tiny, shimmering promise of warmth and community waiting just beyond the shore. The comfort of a harbour is, therefore, a complex and deeply human comfort. It is the comfort of arrival, the comfort of community, of seeing other boats safely at rest, sharing in the collective sigh of relief. It is the comfort of order imposed on chaos, and most of all, it is the comfort of stillness, a precious, deliberate stillness that is all the more valuable for the wild energy that surrounds it. So, if you ever seek a perfect, palpable sense of peace, find your way to a harbour. Stand on the end of a dock, feel the solid planks beneath your feet, and listen to the gentle, liquid music of the water lapping against the pilings. Look out at the dark, reflective surface, and then beyond to the faint, white line of waves breaking against the protective wall. In that contrast lies a deep, universal truth. There will always be open sea in our lives, but there can also always be a harbour, a place to drop anchor, to be still, and to rest in the profound and comforting calm. Our journey along the coast now leads us away from the open shore into a place where two great worlds converge, where the salty breath of the ocean meets the deep, resinous soul of the forest. A unique alchemy occurs, and when the rain begins to fall upon this meeting place, it releases one of the most complex, primal, and deeply soothing fragrances on earth, the scent of rain on a coastal forest. This is not a single scent, but a symphony. To understand it, we must first break apart its components, like isolating the instruments in an orchestra. The first note is the smell of the sea itself, the sharp, clean tang of salt and ozone carried on the damp air, a scent that speaks of vast, open spaces and the mineral essence of the ocean. The second note comes from the forest floor and the trees themselves. Conifers like pine, spruce, and fir, which often dominate these coastal slopes, are reservoirs of fragrance. Their needles and bark are rich with aromatic resins and oils, pinene and limonene, compounds that the trees use to protect themselves from insects and disease. In the dry periods between rains, these volatile oils slowly seep into the air, but when the first drops of water fall, something magical happens. The impact of the raindrops aerosolizes these oils, releasing them in a sudden, concentrated wave. The air is instantly filled with the crisp, clean, medicinal scent of pine, a fragrance that feels like a balm for the mind. Then comes the third, and perhaps most profound, note, petrichor. This is the earthy smell of rain on dry soil, a scent so beloved it has its own name. It is caused by two main actors. The first is a molecule called geosmin, produced by soil-dwelling bacteria called actinomycetes. The second is a yellow oil called ozocerite, which plants secrete during dry periods to slow the germination of their own seeds. When rain falls after a dry spell, the force of the droplets throws this combination of geosmin and plant oils into the air as an aerosol, creating that unmistakable, sweet, and profoundly comforting scent of fresh, wet earth. Now, imagine these three powerful fragrances, the salt and ozone of the ocean, the sharp resins of the conifers, and the sweet, earthy petrichor, all mingling together in the cool, humid air of a coastal rain shower. They do not compete. They harmonize. The salt air seems to sharpen the pine, making it brighter and cleaner. The earthy petrichor grounds the sharpness of the sea, and the trees adding a deep, warm, foundational note. The result is a fragrance that is at once invigorating and calming, clean and ancient, wild and deeply familiar. This scent is a direct line to our most ancient memories. For our ancestors, the smell of rain after a dry period was a signal of life, of water for drinking, of crops that would grow, of survival assured. The scent of the ocean meant a source of food and a landmark for navigation. The scent of pine meant shelter and resin for tools and fire. This coastal perfume is, therefore, a confluence of evolutionary signals for safety, sustenance, and shelter. It is a scent that tells our deepest, most primal selves that we are in a place of abundance and refuge. There is a physiological reason this scent is so soothing as well. The aromatic compounds from the conifers, particularly pinene, have been shown in studies to have anti-inflammatory effects and can help to lower stress hormone levels. The negative ions produced by the crashing ocean waves and the rain itself further contribute to a sense of well-being. Breathing in this complex air is not just pleasant. It is a form of subtle atmospheric therapy. The cool, moist air soothes the respiratory tract, while the fragrance works on the limbic system, the emotional center of the brain, evoking feelings of peace and nostalgia. To walk in a coastal forest during a gentle rain is to experience a form of sensory immersion that is unparalleled. The world is softened. The colors are deeper and richer. The dark, wet green of the moss, the black of the wet bark, the silver of the rain itself. The sound is a gentle, all-encompassing hush, muting the world beyond the trees. And the air you breathe is this holy trinity of scent. Each inhalation feels like drinking a cool, fragrant elixir that cleanses not just the lungs but the spirit. The worries and dust of the dry, busy world are washed away, replaced by this pure, elemental perfume. This is the gift of the coastal forest in the rain. It offers a sanctuary within a sanctuary. It is the stillness of the woods amplified by the hush of the rain and perfumed by the meeting of mountain and sea. It reminds us that the most profound comforts are often found not in single, pure elements, but in their beautiful, complex, and harmonious convergence. So, the next time you find yourself where the trees meet the sea, and you feel the first cool drops of rain, do not seek shelter. Instead, pause, close your eyes, take a deep, slow breath, inhale the salt, the pine, and the wet earth. Let this ancient, soothing perfume fill you. It is the scent of the planet itself, breathing a sigh of relief and inviting you to do the same. It is a quiet reminder that even in the midst of a storm, there is a profound and fragrant peace to be found. In the quiet aftermath of the waves, as the water drains back through the sand, our eyes and hands are drawn to the treasures left in the wake. The stones. Not just any stones, but those that are impossibly smooth, fitting into the palm of the hand as if they were made for it. Their surfaces are cool and flawless, their edges rounded, their weight a comfort. To hold a smooth stone is to hold a finished story, a lesson in transformation written in geology. It is a quiet testament to the most patient force in the universe, the gentle, persistent power of erosion. The story of every smooth stone begins with a fracture. High in the mountains, a jagged piece of granite is pried loose by frost or a seismic shudder. It is all sharp angles and brittle planes, a portrait of raw, unrefined nature. It tumbles down a steep slope, breaking and chipping as it goes, beginning a journey that may last for thousands of years. A river takes custody of it, and in the current, it is never still. It is rolled, bounced, and dragged along the riverbed, colliding with other rocks. With every collision, a tiny microscopic fragment is shorn away. Its sharp, defensive edges are the first to go, knocked off by the relentless, casual violence of the current. By the time it reaches the ocean, it is already a well-traveled pebble, its shape softer, its story long. But its most profound transformation is yet to come. Now it enters the great rock tumbler of the surf zone. Here, it is subjected to a new kind of motion. The waves do not carry it in one direction. They roll it back and forth in a perpetual rhythmic dance. It is buried in abrasive sand, then lifted and turned by the next surge of water. It is polished not by a single dramatic event, but by countless gentle, repetitive actions. The ocean has no goal. It does not intend to create a beautiful stone. It is simply moving as it always has. The smoothing is an incidental byproduct of this eternal motion. A single wave does very little, but multiplied by millions of waves over centuries, the effect is transformative. The stone's rough texture is worn down to a silken finish. Its distinctive angular identity is surrendered to a more universal, rounded form. It becomes, in essence, more itself. Its core essence stripped of all unnecessary and fragile appendages. The constant tumbling wears away everything that is not fundamental, leaving only the hardest, most resilient core, shaped by patience into a thing of simple, profound beauty. This process is the most gentle and profound of metaphors for our own lives. We all begin as jagged stones. Our sharp edges are our defenses, our traumas, our pride, our inflexible opinions, our fears. These are the parts of us that cut others and cut ourselves. They are the brittle facets that are most vulnerable to breaking under pressure. And then life begins its tumbling. The currents of experience carry us. We collide with other people, with challenges, with joys and sorrows. These collisions are often painful in the moment. They chip away at our sharpest edges. We lose pieces of ourselves we thought were essential. The journey down the river of life is one of gradual, often difficult smoothing. But it is when we reach the ocean, the vast, encompassing flow of time and reflection, that the true polishing begins. It is not the dramatic, singular events, but the slow, rhythmic, daily waves of patience, of routine, of quiet contemplation that wear down our remaining roughness. The gentle abrasion of small kindnesses, the steady flow of days, the constant loving presence of those who accept us. These are the sands that polish us. Time, the great healer, is not a surgeon with a scalpel, but the ocean with its infinite, gentle waves. A smooth stone is not weak. It is incredibly strong. It has withstood the test of time and force. Its smoothness is not a sign of having lost itself, but of having been refined. All that was unnecessary, all that was fragile and defensive has been worn away. What remains is strength, resilience, and a beautiful, simple integrity. It is comfortable to hold because it has no sharp edges left to push you away. This is the promise of the smooth stone. It tells us that our own rough edges are not permanent, that the struggles, the collisions, the constant tumbling of our days are not destroying us, but are slowly, imperceptibly smoothing us. We are being worn down, yes, but into a more peaceful, more resilient, and more beautiful form. The anxieties that feel so sharp today will, given enough time and the gentle rhythm of passing waves, be softened. The grief that feels like a jagged tear in our soul will gradually be worn smooth, its sharp pain transformed into a smooth, heavy memory that we can carry without cutting ourselves. So, the next time you hold a smooth stone, feel its weight. Trace its perfect curves. Remember its long journey from a jagged fracture in the mountains to this state of serene completion in your hand. It is a quiet philosopher, a silent teacher. It reminds us that peace is not the absence of turbulence, but the state we achieve after passing through it. It is the proof that time and patience, those gentle, relentless sculptors, are always at work, not to break us, but to polish us until we too become smooth, solid, and serene. And so we have reached the end of our walk. We have travelled together from the welcome shore to the silent, sleeping giants of the dunes and cliff. We have felt the sun-baked rock and the cool, smooth stone. We have listened to the lullaby of the waves and breathed the salty, ion-rich air. We have marvelled at the miniature worlds of the tide pools and the celestial glow within the waves themselves. We have seen how the patient moon guides the tide and how the patient sea polishes the stone. Now, as the night deepens and the stars begin to pepper the vast, dark sky above the horizon, it is time for the coastline to offer its final gift, a gentle good night. All the relaxing facts we have gathered are not merely pieces of trivia. They are layers of a single, profound truth. The coastline is a place of profound rhythm and reliable return. It is the planet's metronome, its steady, beating heart. The waves will always find the shore. The tide will always recede and flow. The sand will always be warmed by the sun and cooled by the night. This is the great, unchanging pulse beneath all the world's chaos. In a human life filled with uncertainty and change, the coastline is a promise of permanence. It is a constant, a baseline of peace to which we can always return, in person or in memory. Think back on our journey. Remember the feeling of sand, the slumber of mountains yielding beneath your feet. That is the feeling of letting go, of allowing the immense, patient scale of geological time to put your own hurried pace into perspective. Your worries are but grains of sand, and the ocean of time is vast. Remember the sound of the waves, the great acoustic blanket that smothers the noisy static of the world. Let that sound be the only thing you hear now. In and out, a deep, resonant crash, followed by a soft, hissing retreat. It is the sound of the world breathing, and you are now breathing with it. Your own heart can slow to match this ancient, steady rhythm. Remember the smooth stone in your hand, a testament to the fact that all rough edges are, in time, worn away. The sharp pains and anxieties of today will not always feel so acute. They will be softened by the gentle, persistent tumbling of days and nights of experiences and rest, until they become a part of your story, polished and integrated, but no longer sharp enough to cause you harm. The coastline does not ask anything of you. It does not demand your productivity, your attention, or your energy. It only offers. It offers its constancy, its beauty, and its immense quiet strength. It is a sanctuary where you are free to be small, to be quiet, to be still. In its presence, the burdens you carry can be set down, if only for a moment upon the sand, to be washed clean by the next gentle wave. So now, as you lie in the comfort of your own space, let this entire coastline unfold within your mind. Picture your own perfect shore. It is there, waiting for you, just behind your closed eyes. See the unbroken horizon, a clean, dark line between the sea and a sky filled with stars. Feel the cool, damp sand beneath you. Hear the gentle, rhythmic lullaby of the water. Each wave washing a little more of the day tension away, pulling it back into the deep, vast, forgiving ocean. You are safe. You are still. You are a witness to the eternal, and in that witnessing, you are at peace. Let your breathing slow to match the tide. Let your muscles relax into the support of the earth beneath you. Let your mind, that busy, chattering sea of thoughts, grow as calm and as serene as a harbour at midnight. The work of the day is done. The journey is complete. All that remains is to rest. On behalf of the slumbering mountains, the patient dunes, the whispering waves, and the smooth, well-travelled stones, I wish you a peaceful good night. May the rhythm of the sea carry you into deep and dreamless sleep. May you drift away on the gentle currents of tranquility, cradled by the knowledge that the coast is always there, constant and calm, keeping watch over the edge of the world. Sleep well.